the word Nirgun and the word Sagun are very commonly used. Nirgun referring to without qualities, Nirgun, gun is qualities, and Sagun with qualities. Let's understand them at a higher level, deeper level. So how do you feel about Nirgun compared to the idea of no qualities, and Sagun often translated as with qualities?
Yeah, these two words are sometimes confusing to people, and especially when they are used when we are referring to Brahman. We say Nirgun Brahman, Sagun Brahman, and people often think that Nirgun Brahman means without any qualities and Sagun means with qualities and so on. But that's not true, because sometimes when you use the word Nirguna, it may not mean just without qualities but without material qualities. Because we have to understand that if Brahman is the source of this whole cosmos, universe, everything is coming from that, as the Vedanta Sutra themselves say, Janmadasya Yataha. So if he is the source, he is the cause, then how can he be completely Nirguna without any qualities? Because this universe has got so many qualities. So if the source does not have it, if the cause does not have it, then how the effect will, or how the product will have it. So Nirguna is used then in the sense that he is without any material gunas, means material qualities. And Saguna is used that he has qualities. So ultimately Saguna, when it is said he has qualities, means he has spiritual qualities. And when it is used that he is Nirguna, means he does not have material qualities. So I often give this example to make it understand, because in our common parlance also we say that suppose you go to some foreign country and there are no chapatis available there. So only thing you can eat is bread, and you are not accustomed to eating bread. You are a chapati wala. You eat chapati in the morning, parathas for breakfast, and lunch you have your rotis.
I gave up my chapatis a while back, but I remember eating chapatis.
Okay.
Okay.
So you understand.
I understand.
So now you go to a place where you don't get it, so you'll say, oh ma, there is no food here. You call home and you say, I'm starving, there's no food here, right? So it's not that the food is not there, but what is food for you, that is not there.
Right.
But you will say like that.
Right.
It's not that people of that country are hungry or they are not eating anything, but it's just that your food is different from their food, and you say, well, I'm hungry and I'm really starving because I can't get my food here. So similarly, because so it is a denial of the popular food. So guna, as we understand here in the material world, are material qualities. But God, Supreme Person, does not have material qualities. So how do I describe him? So I say he is Nirguna. Means first I have to understand that he does not have these qualities as we have. His form is not like our form. So therefore he is called Nirakar, Nirguna. So that is not an absolute denial of gunas or qualities. That is not an absolute denial of form, because if he has no form, how the form is going to manifest here?
Sagun is with spiritual qualities,
right,
not material qualities.
Right.
So then how is Nirgun with qualities different than Sagun?
Not different. It's just to say that does not have material qualities.
Okay.
So because it is the same Brahman, you call it Nirgun and you call it Sagun.
Right.
So now Nirgun is equal to Sagun. So how you are going to make that equation? So Nirgun means no material qualities, Sagun means spiritual qualities, so they are equal.
So what you're saying is Nirgun as a description is the negation of material qualities,
right,
and Sagun as a description is the affirmation of spiritual qualities.
Right.
The entity is the same. The entity is the same, has spiritual qualities,
but no material
does not have material qualities. So we do a double description, what it has and what it doesn't have.
Right.
Yeah, it has this but it doesn't have that, to complete the description.
Right.
So Nirgun, Sagun are together the full description.
Right. So what happens now that people just stuck to one thing and they say, well, he is Nirgun, he is Nirakar, he has no form, no qualities. So that is really not true. He has that. It's a denial of the material thing.
When we say Brahman manifests as the cosmos,
right,
So the manifestation, how is the manifestation different from the cause, which is Brahman?
So manifestation is different because this has material qualities and
Okay.
he does not have material qualities.
So Brahman has spiritual qualities but no material qualities. Brahman manifests as the cosmos is where the material qualities emerge.
Right. So this is one way of understanding. Another way of understanding is that when you say Nirgun Brahman means that is one manifestation of him which is without qualities. So that is in Bhagavatam is described very clearly. Vadanti tat vidas tattvam is jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdate. That there is only one tattva, there is only one reality. Obviously, this is all our scriptures say that. But that one reality manifests in three ways. One is called Brahman. So Brahman is where his qualities are not manifest, his form is not manifest. It's not that he does not have it, it's not manifest. Like you have the seed, so the tree is there inside, but it is not in the manifest.
It's in a potential form.
So there is a cause and there is a effect. So it is just the causal state, unmanifest. And then in the form of Bhagavan, he has all his manifest qualities and manifest form. So that is Bhagavan. And when the same Bhagavan appears as Paramatma to regulate this universe, that is one aspect. So Brahman is when, and it is actually the same reality. The reality is only one, but there are three types of transcendentalists or yogis. So there are Jnana yogis, and there are Ashtanga yogis or Raja yogis, and there are Bhakta yogis. So Bhakti yogis, they see the absolute reality as Bhagavan because they have love for him. He manifests, he reciprocates with them. Ashtanga yogis, they see him in the heart in the four-handed form. And the Jnana yogis, they realize only the impersonal aspect of the same reality. So to give an example, that you are in the plane high above the sky, so you see the ocean, you all see it just as one piece. You don't see any distinctions, right? It's basically, you can say that it has no form. Of course some color is there, otherwise you would not see it. Then the plane comes down, right? You are coming down, then you start seeing that ocean, there are ships and things like that. Then you actually go to the beach and you jump inside the ocean, you see there is a whole world inside that. So you have three different visions of the same object. The object has not changed, but your vision has changed. So similarly, the absolute reality is one, but depending on your distance from that. So Jnanis, they don't want to relate in love. So then, as Krishna says, yayatha mam prapadyante tams tathai bhajamyaham, that I reciprocate according to the bhava of my person who approaches me. So if your concept of the absolute is that absolute does not have any form qualities, then he also manifests to you as Brahman. But if you have this idea that he has a form, he actually plays, he does, then he manifests to you as a person. So then that is Sagun and that is Nirgun, but it is the same thing. So therefore Sagun and Nirgun can also be seen in this way, that he has manifest with transcendental qualities and he is manifest to somebody without any qualities. So this is one way of understanding.
If one wants to explain or describe Brahman, not limited by any qualities at all.
Right.
So is there a way to describe Brahman's not being, because even spiritual qualities, then it means you have to conform to them. So quality is also limitation.
No, these qualities are not limitation because he does not have duality. See, that is the thing. That's why we have to say spiritual quality. So when you say material quality, then there is a duality in that.
Yeah, because if it's hot, it's not cold.
Right.
If you say Brahman is very big, it means he can't be very small.
But he is both.
He's both.
Tadgata tadayajati tanayajati.
So your point being that material qualities have dualities in the sense that a particular quality, if you have the measurement is X, it cannot be also Y.
Right. But in his case, it is both. Like Krishna, when he was, he broke the part of Mother Yashoda, then she was trying to bind him with ropes. But any number of ropes could not go around his belly. So he did not become very big in size.
Right.
He was same size, like a small baby. But all these big ropes could not actually circumvent his belly.
Right.
So why? Because he is unlimited. He was showing that I am unlimited. You cannot bind me with these limited ropes.
So actually there is a paradox there.
This is the paradox.
Paradox, we can't really get it because our mind is in this duality.
Right.
So our mind cannot make sense. How can it be like this and it's also contradiction? How can it be?
So
like
that's why they use the word achintya.
Achintya.
So
Inconceivable.
right. So therefore it is said that achintya khaluye bhava na tans tarkena yojayat. He says those objects which are achintya, don't use your material logic to understand them. It's very clearly said. Because if you utilize your material logic to understand, then you are in trouble.
So ultimately, Brahman is inconceivable.
Unconceivable.
Therefore, saying Nirgun, Sagun is sort of provisional, points us in some direction,
Right.
but we cannot sort of really make sense
Because
of
he is
it.
both.
So the key to understanding, to making sense of Nirgun, Sagun, is to understand the word guna. It refers to material gunas, material properties.
Right.
And Nirguna is beyond those. And anything human beings conceptualize in the ordinary state of consciousness is within this world of material properties, material gunas.
So that's why we need the help of Shastra, because Shastra is explaining to you things which are beyond gunas. But then you don't try to misinterpret it to fit into your concept.
And we will be talking about, we are talking about Shastras also in other episodes, but this is a very important point, that the Shastra is sort of a pointer to that which we cannot understand, but the Shastra, being written by somebody who has that state of consciousness, is giving us a pointer and helping us get that understanding.
Yeah, it's helping us to uplift our consciousness to that level.